I mean, I last year I lost my sister. She was visiting Dubai just after the floods in Dubai, and she had a heart
Oh,
failure,
wow.
couldn't reach the hospital. So, this use case is very close to my heart. But I think the things that I'm excited about is things like one of the friends of the podcast, Carl. He's developing a vehicle that will be first response vehicle. So he's talking about a vehicle that can get a first responder and some equipment to a remote location within 8 minutes. So this is kind of a sprint vehicle. It's fast. It gets one A to B. I think these are the kind of use cases that we can sneak in with the public acceptance. But just one more thing that I wanted to ask you, and this is some of the topics that were interest to me as well. Is we talk about the noise abatement techniques and um, other things that are related to the urban environment. But then you also have things like conservation areas, the impact of conservation areas. If you are making it very urban, like unlike helicopters, will be flying around everywhere. Small vehicles to big vehicles. What's going to be the impact of that conservation impact, and also how to perhaps adopt the urban environment to support that change, that the infrastructure change that is required. Like, so some of the cities and urban environments are pretty rigid, built up, very congested. Do you think that is something that will require a lot more change, a lot more work before we can implement it? Or
This is something I think is also evolving because I think we don't know yet, what kind of, at scale, what's going to be the infrastructure that we need to support. They're electrified vehicles. Will need to be able to deliver appropriate power for recharging, and how that is going to evolve is actually a really interesting study because there's a lot of people
Mhm.
who I think are looking at the problem of vertiport placement, where do how
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
optimize your vertiport locations, um, for the greatest amount of service? But then I don't know, I think they're thinking more of the use case rather than do we have the infrastructure to support that? The challenge, of course, with researching that is that, at this point, I don't know if we know what's really gonna be the requirement, um, for the vehicles, particularly at scale.
Yeah, I know that FAA announced some of the technical definitions. I was actually attending that online presentation by FAA. They've come up with ideas of heliport and helistops and vertiports and vertistops and how they differentiate with each other, but also are connected. And unfortunately, the friends are across the pond from you guys. Yes, I have gone a very different way. They think the heliport has nothing to do with the vertiport, and they are completely different things. So there's also like a disconnect. I know um, that NASA's focus is national, but whatever you guys do have an impact globally. So I'm hoping that, fingers crossed, there's going to be some kind of standardization, global standardization will come on. And in
Mhm.
fact, me and Nadia, we started an organization, a nonprofit, specifically focusing all the questions that we are talking about right now, calling it Open AM. So I think some coordinated efforts like this, understanding all these facets of AM industry. But what do you think about the enormous sort of breadth of facets that are involved? And do you think there's some effort needed to coordinate that kind of work in these areas?
That is one of the things that we have been working on with, the FAA is kind of asking that question, and but like you said, it's an enormous problem, and there's so many parts that it's very hard for, like, one organization to
Exactly.
address
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of it. So, in our case, we're focusing on the traffic management part of it, and I think right now it's because, the vehicle and the industry is so nascent, we I think the best thing we can do is leverage what we have learned from conventional aircraft, that we at least well, we may not know the answers to these things right now, but at least we do know that these are things we are going to have to address. This is why we're working with as many industry partners as we are, is because, yeah, we can't do it all, but hopefully we can serve as an organization that can make those connections between industry partners such that we're addressing